good afternoon, and good night, and welcome to the Amateur Otaku podcast. I'm Brandon. I'm joined by Jamie and Isaac. What's up, guys?
I'm doing well. I'm glad to be here. This is going to be an interesting conversation for sure.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
it's gonna be interesting.
yes. Guys, so excited to be here. If you love what we do here on the show, on this channel, make sure you click on the like button, subscribe, click on the bell icon so you don't miss any coverage of the Amateur Otaku podcast. We do all kinds of anime, but today we're going to do a particular set of movies because it's not just a movie. One could say that this is not necessarily two movies, but the same story seen through in a mirror like phase. It's really weird, but it's apparently these stories were designed to be started in one way to end in a different way, and then start it in one way, ends a different way. So if you watch these two films in different orders, you would actually have very different takeaways. So for the sake of argument and for the sake of experimentation, and to really know what they're trying to say, we actually fell for the synopsis. we took bite the bullet, we took the bait, and we split the team and we watched the movies. And these movies are, to me, The One Who Loved You, and To Every You I've Loved Before. So these movies recently came out on Crunchyroll. And because of I think there's no way that you can say that it's not a gimmick, because it's low key, it's a gimmick, right? You could say.
Mhm.
Because of the gimmick, we find it so very interesting that we figured we talk about it on the show. So, you guys, in what order did y'all see it again? You guys, which one first?
To every you I loved before, and to me, the one who loved you.
Okay, so I watched it the other way. So, for sake of reference, guys, we're just setting up the stage for the conversation. Jamie and Isaac watched these two films in the following order: To Every You I've Loved Before, To Me, The One Who Loved You. And I watched it, To Me, The One Who Loved You, To Every You I've Loved Before. So I think it's safe to say that the best thing to do is maybe talk about just the concepts in general, maybe a little bit, because it's very exposition heavy.
That's
Like,
an understatement.
yeah, they're very exposition heavy. There's a lot of like science fiction gimmicks that's really like at the center of this. And besides the science fiction gimmick, there's like a little bit of a love story based on novels written by Jamoji Otono. These novels came out back in June 23rd, 2016. Yes, these two novels came out at the same time, probably because the author wanted either to sell a lot of books or to have the same effect. So it's very, very, very intended to be seen together and from different angles. And I don't know, they want us to scrutinize this, get all Sherlocky. So it's to set the premise and just start talking about it. I want to, because I would definitely want to hear you guys' thoughts on the movies. But literally, it takes place in Japan,
Mhm.
in a Japan where the phenomenon known as parallel worlds, parallel shifting, um, the idea of your consciousness traveling to a parallel world. If anybody knows infinite or multiple worlds theory, pretty much, I may be saying this wrong. So if you really know science, just correct me. I'm not gonna feel bad about it. But this whole theory that every time someone makes a choice between two things, three things, four things, every time you make a choice, there's another world in the multiverse that's created where life continues based on the choice that you've made. So if I can choose between peanut butter and jelly, grape jelly, and peanut butter and strawberry jelly, if I go with strawberry jelly, it's going to be a different brand If I go with grape jelly, it's going to be a different Brandon. So, but then again, there's that one Brandon is going to be all fat and put both of them in the same peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'm just saying that Brandon exists. So
My choice is no choice. All of them.
yes, and that would make three worlds. So in this world where parallel worlds occur, this is a science studied, and whenever your consciousness travels to another parallel world inside your body, that's considered your imaginality, because that's what we call them. And a lot happens, but that's the base of it. But I want to hear from you guys first. I just came out from watching them, so I do have. I'm still processing. I have a lot to say, but I know you also have seen it in a different way. So, Jamie, Isaac, what were your thoughts of the movies in general, and what was your experience going through them?
My thoughts on the movies in general. Well, I definitely, me personally, I feel like To Every You I've Loved Before is the movie that is meant to be watched first, or at least I feel like things make more sense to watch that one first and then to watch To Me, the You Who Loved You. We have to find an acronym for that, but I feel like it makes more sense watching it that way because watching To Every You, like it felt like we were just watching like these two people, this love story come together, and then it like makes a conclusion with some interesting like comments about the imaginalities and the parallel worlds and all of that. And then to watch To Me, the One Who Loved You, it goes deeper into those topics where at first, like, watching the first movie, or at least watching in the order that me and Isaac watched it, I'm like, oh, like that's kind of a fleeting thought, I guess. But they're like, no, it's not. We have more to say about this topic. And I'm like, oh, so this was a big part of this story, I see. So that was interesting. Me and Isaac also, we had a little bit of time before the show to talk about our thoughts about these two films. And I told him, I was like, I know these two films were trying to go for like depending on which way you watch it, like you might have a different perspective, and like even on the love stories that happen. And I'm not sure that they hit the nail on the head. I'm not sure that they accomplished that. I feel like they were making their way towards it. But ultimately for me, and I know Isaac expressed this to me earlier, the like whole love story aspect between um are one of the two characters, one of two sets of characters that get together versus the other that we see in To Me, the One Who Loved You. I felt like the love story that we saw in our first film was a little bit strange, and I know Isaac expressed his like he didn't really believe it. I'm like, I don't know if I believed it either.
I mean, it's parallel realities. I don't think you're meant to believe it.
But it's like
Yes,
even with
yes.
that idea, just the way, and I don't want to like get into the spoilers until we actually talk about the spoilers, but it's like just the way these two characters interact. It's just like, are you guys sure that you love each other? Like, are we sure about this? Like, I know that they definitely had a connection, but I don't know if it was like a romantic connection, which is interesting because in To Me, the One Who Loved You, we see these same characters that actually don't have a romantic connection, even though maybe one wants it a little more than the other. Which I kind of feel like it was that way in both worlds. Is unfortunate. But yeah, the love story, I'm like, I feel like this is supposed to be the thing that's pulling me into Every You I've Loved Before, and I don't know if it completely got through. The science fiction parts though are very strong. In
That was all
To Me, the
that's
One Who
the
Loved
whole
You.
thing, right? Like
Yeah.
the whole science of it all. It's convoluted, it's crazy, but it's interesting, it's
It
engaging.
is. It is.
If anything, the only thing is that it's pure exposition
Mm.
most of the time. and there's not
Yeah,
enough
they said a lot
fantastic
of things where I was like, I don't know what you just said.
yeah, and like there's a lot of things like most anime get away. Like for example, in the little that I've seen of it, one of the reasons Dr. Stone is such a great show to showcase science is because the exposition is mixed in with crazy ways of actually doing the thing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's not just like this thing does this. No, but then you see Senku doing this and like
Mhm.
sweating and then he puts a thing and the guy breaks loose. Like it. There's this energy and synergy and
Yeah.
kinesthetic thing to it that here is just. Do I take tea or black coffee? Like it's all like very like supposed to be more like this, and no, it's too much. Just
Yeah, like almost more of a on a theoretical level than practical, which is
right.
like that's another thing that's not necessarily working to the movie's advantage as far as like me really getting
Yeah.
into the science part that I just like I I'm following like the general things, but when they go into specifics, like, oh, this thing works like this and that and this, I'm like, can we go back to the bubbles example, please? I got the bubbles, all right. I
Go
understand
back
that.
to the bubbles.
Let's go back to the bubbles, please.
Yeah.
Which I also feel like was a very genius way of explaining it in very like simple terms, because I'm sure that like the author of the novels like, yeah, I'm probably gonna lose some people on the science parts. Let's talk about bubbles and let's simplify this.
And like when the story gets intense, like, yes, we're going back to the bubbles.
Yes, yes. But yeah, I mean, generally, I do like what they tried to do here. Um, I'm like not again, just I'm not sure if they fully accomplished what they were trying to do, but I do like the attempt, and I would love to see something like this again in the future. Hopefully, with like I feel like the thing for me, and I'm sure Isaac will talk about this as well, is the fact that I it felt like I was watching two stories that intertwined, but also at some point it felt like I was watching To Every You I've Loved Before again. And I was like, I saw this part. Like I don't need the recap. Like I've got it. And it sucks because like we the way that we watched it, or at least the way that I watched both of the films back to back. So it
So
was
did
all
I.
very
Yeah.
fresh in my mind. So I'm like, yeah, I don't need to watch this part over again.
Like
But
you're
for
tempted to move forward, and then you
yeah.
find out there's like 2 minutes of extra dialogue, and you're like, damn it, I can't forward it.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do like it. It's definitely interesting and a quirky film. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's all I can really say. What about you, Isaac?
Speak.
I didn't like either of them at all.
That's fair.
Because, first of all, and this is the one that it's more important, the whole uh, the whole relationship with Kasune and Koyomi made no sense whatsoever. I couldn't buy that a single bit
Yo.
because you
Kasune crying in a corner right now.
Mhm.
you expect me to believe, or should I say, is a relationship really healthy if the partners
Trust me, this movie's not about healthy relationships. That's not what this movie's
Yeah.
about. Like all the
is it
parents are
though-
divorced, and like
Is it though because they are putting a lot of focus on Kasune and Koyomi's relationship and life together, and I
No, no,
mean
no.
a
Well, remember,
lot.
one thing is putting weight and emphasis to the relationship, but that don't make it a healthy relationship, though.
Yeah, and I can't understand how someone can. You know how you say that to sort of like to this takes us apart.
Right, step
What?
to his part. Right.
Yeah, and how someone would feel just comfortable, or maybe not comfortable is the right term, to know that your specific significant other is their end goal is to save the one that he arguably loved them more than anyone else, and it just kind of feel like, especially in the to me, the one I love you, the one me and Jamie saw the last, as if he, I wouldn't say used her kind of deal, but it made but she was it felt that she was only in for the ride because she was interested in the science, which makes me want to believe why they just made their siblings, and that
No, but that was the problem. They can't be siblings.
Another girl goes down.
I'm not saying that they have to. I'm not saying that they have to sort of like get together and but we are siblings.
Right.
That would
Yeah,
just
we don't need another. What was that film we did a little bit ago? We don't need another Up from Poppy Hill.
Yeah, well, but also, like you guys said, it's so much exposition that it loses it to the point that it loses focus when it tries talking about the science. I know I'm going to get a lot of flack on that, but fuck it, I don't really care. But it makes as less of a sense than
where's that meme? Like
Tenet.
that meme of the guy from Tangled, like
Nolan's
this,
Tenet.
And all the swords.
Oh,
Isn't that the
all
one?
the knives.
Is it the one with the Robert Pattinson that he did? Tenet?
Which one?
Christopher
Nolan's, Tenet. Yeah.
No, well, yeah. Robert Pattinson did it, but that's the one for the main one. Was the main character was John David Washington?
Yeah, John David Washington. Thank you. But Robert Pattinson just came.
He was there for like 5 seconds.
Yeah, but
he was.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen the film. I didn't know that. Wow.
What I'm trying to say is the whole going through the bubble, talking about parallel worlds and all that. Yes, it makes enough sense. aka no sense whatsoever. Like the whole time jumping in Tenet. And yes, I don't like that movie whatsoever. And I'm probably going to get some angry Nolan fanatics in the comment section, but I don't fucking care. But
hey, man,
yo, you got that energy, bro. You really had Snickers before the recording.
No. I don't eat Snickers. I eat Mars.
I mean, I'm gonna tell you this right now. I'm not a huge fan of Tenet either. So.
Oh, thank you. What?
No, I love I don't care what people say, and suddenly I'm in your corner. It's like, okay, cool. I'm not alone.
Yeah, but it's sort of like an old because it's also one of another issue that you only that the science you can't the science is so convoluted that it just, and this is a problem when it comes to parallel universes, that sort of like them shifting around, because who is it to say that you suddenly switch with someone else if it's so open-ended at one after a point some random person I'm just tired of life. Fuck off, everyone. I'm going to world number 263. Okay, I'm just putting a number out there, but you can catch my ring. The only thing that made sense in this movie, in my regard, in my book, it's the sort of like a relationship with Youre and Kiyomi, because they grew up
I
with each
agree.
other, and
You mean
they connected.
The Shiori relation? So the
Yeah,
relationship in the second film is the one that made the most sense for you.
yeah, because they
Hmm.
Okay.
grew up together as
Okay.
kids. Their parents was close, which made and
Which is
was
funny because I
yeah,
felt like their parents into Every You Have Loved before. I'm like, are they together or what's going on there? But apparently they
yeah,
weren't. But another parallel world, they were.
yeah, because they worked together so closely. So in
Yeah.
that regard, they ended up getting so close together, and because of that, it's not. I don't think it's um, so out of the loop to believe that they would get wanting to be together kind of deal. And I
Yeah.
dare even say it makes even sense that they were unaware of the whole. Okay, just because we're step siblings doesn't mean we can marry. I can understand if they believe that they be just becomes legal siblings and all that. Yes, they
Hmm.
are 16 for heck's sake, and the
That's
fact that they are so desperate that they want to use that machine to find a world that they quote unquote can live together, kind of deal. And I will also say that it was extremely convoluted, but I get where they were coming from when I was talking about her being a ghost kind of deal, and why everyone else couldn't see her. Because most people couldn't see her, at least,
Hmm.
considering he was the one that jumped with him. It's in that pod, sort of like that. But outside of that, it it just makes no sense. That movie is just it's. Don't get me wrong. Have I seen worse animes? Yes, of course. I've seen Poopa for fuck's sake. But uh, what
you've seen what?
Poopa?
I
It,
don't think I want to
Oh,
know what
I'm
that
not
is now.
familiar with that one.
it,
Yeah, part of
it's
me,
a
the way you expressed it is like, I don't think I want to know what that is now.
it's a show about a boy, brother and sister, where his brother can heal his flesh no matter what damage he can take, and his sister has a zombie-like sickness, so she needs to eat human flesh, and there are stuff where
Oh.
she that you can see her eating her brother's flesh and saying "Unishan" just while she eating it, and I'm just ugh. But I digress.
That's how was it Fire Punch? That's how Fire Punch got started.
Uh,
The the
yeah,
Oh,
manga I'm
the
talking about.
that's from Chains. That's the Chains. That's
Yeah, Chainsaw Man mangaka.
that sounds to be that's supposed to be very good.
That's what I've heard. And what he
it's
said, the premise sounds a little bit like the main character's power and like why he was using that power to begin with, which is funny. But I know it's not the
yeah,
same. I know it's not the same.
yeah, it's oh, yeah, I was a friend managed to oh, it's so good. You just go in blind, and I
Mm.
was mad at him for
Are you still
half a
friends with
year.
them?
So yes, but well, let's just say that revenge is sweet after a while.
Mm.
Best served cold.
Yep, yep.
So
I mean,
wait, you got more? Keep going because
but it just
getting you talking like this,
it's just
it's I
because
don't want to lose this.
because what I am trying to say that
Oh, you're
if the
still trying to
science
say something.
doesn't make sense, and if
Yes.
the what's arguably the main relationship doesn't make sense, those
Mm.
two are the
Yeah.
key things that really that you need to buy.
Yeah.
And if you don't buy it either, the movie falls flatter than the premise in Sword Art Online.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Sword Art Online is the go, by the way. But we're not going to
No,
talk about that.
it's not.
It
But
gets
hey,
better. It gets better every day.
I love Sword Art Online.
But
If
hey,
you don't,
at
if
least,
you
I
don't
do
like
like it, and then it took a
that's fine.
very bad dive, but then it came back up. It came back up,
but
in
hey,
my
at
opinion.
least it, at least
So
it,
did it go down for
but-
you, Jamie, at the end of season 1, and then it came back up at season 3, season
Yes.
2?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I hate
See?
season 3 with all my passion, but
I
it's for
also
a
Gun Gale
personal
was okay.
reason.
Gun Gale was okay, but after
Yeah,
when we get
it
to
was
like
the gun.
See, Gun
Alicization,
Gale's my favorite, but that's that's a conversation for
almost
another
said,
time.
yeah.
I almost destroyed the CV while I watched Gun Gale. Brandon knows very much why, but that would
You got anything else on these films, Isaac?
it's just. Also, I don't know if what you guys think, but it just and maybe it was just my imagination, but the animation quality between the two films was very, very different, and in some aspect jarring at some point. At times,
I don't think it
just
was crazy. I don't think it was crazy different, but
Yeah, I personally, I feel like it was pretty much the same. Although I do think that like
it
to the
was.
me,
Well,
the
actually, it's interesting. It was done by 2 different studios.
that's funny.
One,
The
I'm not surprised because they maybe did that to make sure they both came out at the same time. Maybe.
that also kind of makes sense because I was wondering when I started up the second movie, I'm like, and even in the flashbacks in the first movie, I'm like, why does he look different in the parallel world? But now that makes sense because if two different studios did it and they wanted to have like different character designs, like okay, that makes sense. But I feel like to me, as far as like the budget goes, the one note that I would make is the fact that to me, the one who loves you, it does have like there are like a few times it flashes back, and then there's like this one long flashback to Every You I've Loved before. And I was like, do we really need to see this again? Like I think you could definitely reference it for those who maybe had not watched the previous movie in recent memories, so like maybe a refresh. But I don't know, I feel like I don't know if they reuse the animation as far as just like taking the footage and putting it in there, or if they like traced over stuff. But it definitely, I was like, I don't feel like this was necessary. But I'm also, not completely in love with the film, so maybe that's part of it too.
Also, I need to ask, when did Shape of Water came out?
The Shape of Water come out. I think it was 2018. Let me see.
Okay, because they off the credit scene where
2017.
Yes, 2017. Okay, because I just remember the credit scene in the Me Who Loved You made me wonder, like, were we going to do some weird Shape of Water stuff? Where the main character and his original love is getting connected again because you see them falling into some weird
See,
water
that's
stuff.
a good thing you brought that up. I feel.
And-
Are we talking about spoilers? 'Cause I really like.
Yeah.
There's so
Well, I
much more
haven't
that we
talked
could-
about my experience
can-
with the film.
That's true. I mean, just to keep
And
it general. I mean,
Yeah,
you know
it's
what?
just-
I mean, we're 30
just-
minutes in, and 15 minutes was just Isaac blasting the film.
and it also goes. It goes also from what I'm saying that the whole relationship with
Did not listen to
The-
anything I said.
Kazune and Kiyomi, it doesn't make sense. The whole they are together in the limbo, and so if they are so and don't get me started on how she is getting resurrected, which is just and also how if the timeline is created after he dies because he or should I say when he is an old man, why can he jump to that timeline where he doesn't meet her? Does that create a parallel?
No, actually, that's a good question. See, I was thinking
Parallel paradox.
I don't want to like derail too much, but I was thinking while we're on the topic, I was thinking like, how did he just so happen to die when they shifted? Because he said like he wanted to die while they were shifting, so he would be in a similar situation as Shiori. So I'm like, how did they time that? Was he like, okay, and now? Like, how did that happen? I don't know.
Okay.
Brandon, please go.
So I'm going to talk about my experience. So
Sorry, by the way.
no, you don't apologize. I mean, we rarely get you talking, so this works. So Jamie and Isaac watched To Every You I've Loved Before first, followed by To Me, the One Who Loved You. I watched To Me, the One Who Loved You first, and then I watched To Every You I've Loved Before. Both movies are amazing. Bye. I'm done.
Ooh, controversial take here.
No,
on the
okay.
podcast.
So, I love how I can see Isaac's jaw dropping in like 2 seconds. Like,
No, I don't. I
no,
don't because I had.
I didn't love these films. I did not love these films. I did not hate them with a passion either. I found them super, super interesting. But then again, I'm a huge fan of sci-fi and weird sci-fi. So this is definitely right up my alley. Now, I was able to catch a lot of the connective tissue between both retellings and both explanations and both stories.
Mhm.
So I think that my enjoyment more than anything came from finding that connective tissue that brought substance and sense to it all. And to me, based on that, it has a lot of merit and it does a lot of good stuff. Because they pitch the films to us as romances in a way,
Yeah.
but they're not.
No.
And they're not. That's not even like the main core of the films either. Like it's not about the romance, but it's about how choices can shape you and how knowing what your choices can look like can affect your view of your life and your understanding of your life.
Mhm.
Because, for example, on one end, the first movie that I saw, which was To Me, the One Who Loved You, um, his life was riddled by tragedy because of what happened with him and Shiori. Now, that being said, he did shift originally because of her. And when they both shifted because they didn't know, which by the way, that to me was heartbreaking. And also, I love how Kasune constantly tells him in both films, Kasune constantly tells him that he doesn't have any tact. Like
Mhm.
he just like he got that from his dad because his dad had no way. Like he just told him, I mean, just because we get married doesn't mean you guys couldn't be together. So I don't know why you guys got away.
Yeah, I was
That to
like,
me,
damn, dude. Like
yeah,
she's on her deathbed. Like, why did you have to say it now?
like, bro, like this is not the time.
Yeah,
This is
that
not
was.
the time.
Mm.
But yeah, his dad's a dick. But kind of. Okay, no, he is. That was a dick move. But the whole thing that his life stopped because of that event, all the choices that he made were strictly and solely all about how to save Shiori.
Mhm.
So he never gave himself the opportunity to see Kasune a different way at all because he was just focused on it. And in more than one occasion, you can tell that Kasune was into him. Like
Yeah.
it's literally like there was no way that you can think otherwise. Especially that big confrontation when they finally figure out the whole time shift thing. Like they
Yeah.
actually figured out how to do it. Like she gets on top of him, just angry, like about to beat him up, and it's like, how can you not think about who you leave behind? And in no time does he realize that she meant it because of her. And what I find interesting about the first viewing that I had, which is to me, the one who loved you, is because everything is centered on the decision that he made to focus his life and center it on saving Shiori. You do not get, apart from the purposeful shift that he does when he was a kid, that he sees the difference between his grandpa dying and his dog dying, right? And apart from that moment where he, out of nowhere, finds that he shifts while dreaming, while sleeping, into the bed where he's with Kasune, which again happens without a machine, which I found very interesting, is that he was so focused on the whole Shiori thing that he never gave himself an opportunity for that. So he is the one point or the one storyline where you never see other members of his family affected by shifting imaginalities. He is the only one that knows about it, that talks about it, that experiences it. Everybody else doesn't matter because he doesn't care about anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not paying attention to anybody else. He's just paying attention to himself. So when he finally makes a decision, answering the question I think that Isak brought to is, so the way they explained it, I can't believe I remember this. Because it's so weird. So when it's a friction or fission or whatever. Whenever the event occurs that they shift and Shijori dies, right? So her consciousness gets lost literally in limbo, and it gets stuck in that point in time across the multiverse. So the main reason that she is stuck in that place is because her consciousness is linked to him. So part of her is linked to his body, to his to his imaginality, which is why whenever they were doing the experiments where he shifted to different worlds, he kept seeing her, not because she was present in the different worlds. He kept seeing her because she was traveling, because she's linked to him.
Yeah,
and
because so they shifted together.
Correct, because she doesn't have a choice, because she's just an idea or whatever. So what happened is the solution that he found was that he was going to take his imaginality that already has hers intertwined with his. He's going to send his consciousness back to the past of a different parallel world, which happens to be the one where he marries Kasune, so that they become one, but at the same time, it breaks the connection between the both of them, which is why they never meet. And the reason they never meet is not because they never meet, it's because in that reality, Kiyomi chooses to live with his mother. So he doesn't spend time in the research facility at all. So Shiori was able to live her life, but the one that was trapped with him in his Earth is no longer trapped with him, because that version of her got linked to the one from that world. So that's how
kind of funny, because like in that universe where they never meet, I don't think his dad ever got with the deputy director, which was her mom. So they probably could have got together and not had the whole snafu of we need to go to a different world.
right. But then again, that's just the one of those things, right? Like you never know what can or is not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. And here's the thing, though. Do we? The only reason we don't know if they got together is because they never make it a point to tell us, because it's not important in that world. Because they don't go out of the way to say that they're not.
I don't think they did, though. Like I think like he saw her and then
he looks a lot
away.
more. Yeah, he looks a lot more like messed up. Like he never like his dad on the other world looks like cleaner and like whatever.
What was it? Oh yeah. So now that you like explained all of this, I'm like, yeah, I got that part, and I was like, oh wait. So the only thing that I didn't think about with your explanation, like
which
when I
want to
first
go
watched
to the next, I want to go to the other movie too, but go ahead.
Right. So he sends his imaginality back in time. So how come he's not like old man in a young body? Because that's how it works every other time that he shifts.
Well,
It's like
because
same consciousness.
because every time because what he did is that he went back in time to when he was young, but when he did that, the imaginality that exists in To Me, the One Who Loved You,
Mm-hmm.
disappears into the one that we follow into Every You I've Loved Before.
So it's like the
It's like they melt
it's like he's
together.
not 0 anymore. He's like 1 or something.
Exactly. Or exactly, like you don't know,
Uh,
which is why I find this one to be the most interesting to me, because in the case of To Every You I've Loved Before, it's not about him trying to solve the mystery of himself necessarily, because he does know that he has shifted. It's about him trying to figure out the fact that Kasune apparently has shifted, or different people have shifted, or how the world reacts to the idea of, it's more of a global view of the problem as opposed to a more
mhm.
personal view of the problem. Which is why I find interesting that at the end he says, to every version of me that has loved Kasune, um, or whatever, or did that, all the ones that didn't love Kazune, thank you, because you didn't love Kazune, I was able to love Kazune,
Mm-hmm.
and then the same thing around, right? Um, what I found so interesting is the reason why I say it's not a love story specifically for To Ever You that I've loved before, is because the whole thing kind of comes down to, he's never sure a 110% that is his Kasune,
Yeah, just a little sad.
which is a little sad. But the one thing that you will learn is that every Kazune in every reality loves him, and that's the key that makes it weird but interesting. Because even the Kazune that lived in a reality that Koyomi never paid attention to her, she still loved Koyomi.
See, I have another thing to say about that
Go,
as
go.
well, because I was like, I didn't think about it until before we were getting ready to discuss. So, Kazune says at roughly the beginning of To Every You I've Loved Before, she's like, "Oh, you're not the Koyomi that I met like a while ago, or the Kiyomi from my universe, because he's so much more dependable and all this other stuff."
Do you know why?
And why is that?
Because there's a shot that if you don't pay attention, you don't freaking see it. And they're dirty because it's the kind of shot that you're kind of supposed to flash back again in the like further on in the movie, so you can kind of get the idea. So if you remember on To Me the One I Love, the One Who Loved You,
Yeah.
if you remember that film, the
Mhm.
first time that he shifts, what happens? He's running around in a park and he sees the dog in the distance.
Mhm.
So he goes and gets the dog. There's a young girl scared in the corner. That's scared of the dog. That's Kasune.
Right. But see, the thing about that, because I knew you were going to say that,
Okay.
but then it's like she said, she's basically saying, I love that version of you. But when did she ever talk with him, interact with him? Like, when did any of that happen to the point where
So
she's like, yeah, I love that one?
well, that's like the animeism, right? Like, I know you hate those. It's
I
your
don't
word, not
absolutely hate
mine.
them. Is it? But
No,
I don't absolutely.
you brought it up last time. It was
Yeah.
so funny.
It's like
Like
I
the
don't hate
animeisms.
animeisms, but it's just like when you stack them on top of each other, then it's just like, all right, what are we really doing here? But like one or two is like, I feel like every
Yes.
story has
Yes.
an ism in it, so it's fine.
No, but this particular ism is like that one trope in anime romance where it's like, I remember you when I was only 2 years old, and
Right.
suddenly we all grew up. We have to marry each other. Like it was like, bro, you guys never talked. Which is why, to me, for example, Tomo-chan as a girl was so refreshing, because none of that, none of that. These
True.
are childhood friends and whatever, and it feels real, and she beats him up, which is perfect. No, but I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But I think also it's you can't deny that every version that we see of her does end up like liking him.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
funny thing is, like, the reason it's not a love story is like when he proposes and he notices that she shifted. It's like that's like the worst thing that could ever happen in a world where that's a possibility. You know what it is that you're sitting with someone that you just proposed to. You know they told you yes, and suddenly you look at their watch. It's like, wait a minute, the fuck? Does this person actually say yes to me, or like, yeah? And the guy was, just, and then you flash forward to the wedding day, and the guy goes like, okay, I can't. I'm gonna do it, but take that watch off. Oh, by the way, the watch that he made, because they both made this technology. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that's. I know what you mean. It's crazy.
Yeah. That was like because I liked the fact that it seemed like Kazune had lied to him at first just to try and be like this really elaborate lie just to be like, yeah, I just wanted to talk with you. Like even though I was like, okay, stay away from her. She's psychotic. I was like, also, go get it, girl. Okay, I see you. Like you don't necessarily want to be upfront. Like it's like Meg from Hercules. Like
Players
out
wanna
loud, I
play.
can't say I'm in love, but if it was another me, I could totally say that. So I'm like, one
Players
way
gotta
I get
play.
you, yeah, yeah. And one way I got her, but another way I'm like, stay away from her. She crazy.
Yep. Yep.
I like that aspect. But then we got to the scene in the end of like To Every You Have Loved Before, where she brings up the part where she was like, yeah, the dependable, like all of that. I'm like, wait a minute. When did that happen? I'm like, what was she talking about?
Well,
I
also,
don't know.
the other thing is, like, you got to figure. I think one of the things that I found interesting and weird that makes sense also is that I don't know if you notice, but with Kasune, I think she's the only character that we see more than two personalities of.
Yeah.
Which I think it's very telling for that second movie. But also like the whole thing with the whole dependable thing, you can kind of tell that she's talking about the Koyomi that's dedicated his life for Shiori. That's the Kiyomi that she's talking about. But also the one that writes the letter, which is the one that says that,
Right. Yeah.
is the one that shifted to put the appointment for Kiyomi. The one that shifted was the one that did the letter.
Yeah.
So that's the Kiyomi she's talking about. That's so the one that actually married Kiyomi wouldn't know. But then again, the one that married Kiyomi is not the original Kasune either, because it's the Kasune that's an amalgamation of more than one Kazune, because that's where you have the whole thing with her with the kid, which that was like nuts. Like that was nuts. Like that's the kind of sci-fi stuff that you're like, okay, this is good. I don't know what's going on here. I did find it kind of weird that the kid never got freaked out. Like the kid like just nonchalantly said, "Where's my mom?"
Yeah, that was odd. That was odd. I'm like, so you went out with this woman that you didn't think was your mom? I'm like, y'all are bad parents. You're not supposed to be doing that.
I mean, he probably knew about a technology from his
I hope
parent,
so.
That's the only explanation I got.
And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if, and I say that as considering who's his grandpa was, I wouldn't be surprised if he had some form of mannerism from his grandpa on his father's side, if you catch my drift.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
I also like the fact that she kept asking. Well, I don't think she kept asking, but she did make it a point to ask him, like, "Oh, aren't you gonna finish this drawing?" Because like her son never got the chance to finish the drawing, so she's like, "At least I'll be able to take this back with me."
Yes.
I thought that was cool.
And that's the kind of thing that I love, because both films really, I think, where they triumph, because Isaac already told us everything they did it. But where they triumph is that they do generally feel like two very separate experiences.
Mm.
But the concepts are so unique and intertwined amongst each other that you can still feel the connective tissue, even though they're very different.
Yeah.
Like you can use the same, like, I'm gonna use gaming language. You can use the same build and watch both films and get it right. Or if you didn't get either of them, hey, you're not the problem. The film is.
Mhm.
But yeah, I enjoyed the films quite a bit for that. But I could also see all the complaints that y'all has or the observations that you had. It's not for everybody. Not everybody's gonna watch this and be like, oh, this is the next Your Name. It's not. Um, it's overly complicated. It's overcomplicated, convoluted. But I think for the science fiction fare that it is, it's not excessively complicated. You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
Like,
And like what I was
the
saying with the bubbles too, like they do try to break things down like as much
yeah,
as they whenever they can, so it
yeah,
makes it
yeah.
make more sense.
I think the biggest thing is that with the title,
Ugh.
yeah, the titles are the thing that hurt it the most because
Yeah.
you're expecting, you know, something like Your Name in the sense of
Hmm.
it's gonna have romance and it might have a little bit of animeisms that it's gonna make it feel like no, this is a sci-fi. These are sci-fi films,
Yeah.
true and true. And if this is not your genre, you're not gonna like it.
So
You're
what
just
you're
not.
saying is that
You hate
they
sci-fi,
should.
Isaac. That's
No, I don't. I don't. Yeah, so you're saying that it should be named something along the lines or of connecting bubble or and
The
this
bubbles, they
connecting bubbles.
float up and
Yeah,
down.
yeah,
Bubbles. Actually, I think there's an anime film already called Bubbles, but
yeah.
which is
It
not
is.
that good.
It
So
is. It's
I don't like it.
good.
I don't like it.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
good.
um, no, but then you have, or maybe you can call it Bubbles, brought to you by Guinness beer. Like, which by the way, I found it
Sponsor.
very particular. They went out of their way. I was like, hey man, this is a Guinness.
That was
Um,
fun, but I'm like, it was funny because I like, did they like sponsor this part? But also,
It
like,
was
I don't know if any other beer does what they do with like the change in the viscosity or whatever. So, like, you know what? I'll give it a pass. I'll give it a pass.
Now, next pod, we got to all get some Guinness and just be like, we'll
Yep.
see if it does the thing.
I
Um,
I'm not.
also,
I don't drink alcohol, so unfortunately, I can't do that.
maybe they have Virgin Guinness somewhere. I don't know. Probably not. But speaking
it's
of
just
the
jerk.
just dark water carbonated, but speaking of the Guinness part, I also thought it was funny that both times Kazune was like, what, you don't want a glass, like, what, wouldn't this be better to drink in a glass? So I was like, oh, it's another little thing, it's like,
No, and
little
that's
connection.
and that's the whole thing. Like, she's the only one that it's like. Also, she's like the only one that understands when she shifts. Like, she's in full control. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, there's a version of her that's probably like a Doctor Who Time Lord. There has to be. You know what I mean? That she's just shifting. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you were to rate this experience, what would you rate it as we wrap up the conversation?
You go first, Isaac. I'm curious.
Well, as I said, first of all, I want to apologize for the whole Sword Art Online
Do
bit.
not apologize. Damn it.
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
because
I agree with you
I'm
on
a,
some points. Don't apologize.
yeah. Second of all, uh, since I can see where they're trying to go with, even though I think they under succeeded at all, I would have to go like 3 out of 10,
Oh wow.
sort of like that. If I'm being generous, because
Ooh.
it,
So
yeah,
that's generous, Isaac. Oh,
Yeah,
by the way,
that's
I saw a
generous.
note. Did we talk about that woman that he works up with?
Oh no, we did. See,
So
so
that's
I feel like
Kazune. That's a version
Yeah,
of
yeah. I
Kazune.
feel like, see,
Yeah.
here's the thing. I feel like the assumption is it's Kazune, but
Yeah.
then like that to Every You that I've loved before, that Koyomi, I'm like, I don't really envision him being in bed with Kazune like that. Like to be honest, the fact that they even had a child, I was like, wow, so he did it. Like I never saw
mean,
that for them. Honestly, that was
He
another
brought it
thing.
home.
That was another thing that like Isaac was talking about earlier, where he just said he didn't see how that relationship worked. Like I don't really see how that relationship worked. Like I definitely knew that
Like I was saying,
Kazune
I don't think it worked. Period. Like it was just it got
it,
better. But
it did get
Yeah.
yeah, it got better. I definitely I thought like Kiyomi and Shiori's relationship made more sense with like, oh, I could see how they like both romantically like each other, and then they do kind of confess because of the situation. Like, oh, I don't want them to get together because I like you. Um but yeah, I feel like it was assumed that that was Kazune, but I wanted like extra confirmation because I genuinely was like, this is impossible. This is not,
Mm.
this can't be.
Yeah. It's like what am I gonna say right now? It's never mind.
Gave it a 3, sticking with 3 out of
Yeah,
10.
I'm sticking with
a
yeah,
one, a two, a
and a
three.
3. Yeah, but
I
Gamer, what you're giving it this?
I thought about this yesterday actually, and I don't know. I feel like when I immediately go to ratings, that means my experience was like, it was weird. I would probably give it a 6.5 out of 10. And I just updated my anime list today, and there's no like 6.5. It's either 6 or 7. And I'm like, I'll sit with 6. I'll sit with 6. So either like a 6 or a 6.5, because there are definitely things that I enjoy. And that connective tissue is definitely there. But I feel like at least the things that I was interested in, which was like the love story aspect of it, wasn't explored as much, which granted, that wasn't what the film was, so I was never going to be happy in that regard.
Misleaded
Um,
marketing.
yeah, it was like I was a little bit misleaded just based on the title. Because again, I had not, or actually, I didn't state this, but I had not seen any trailers or anything of this. So just based off the titles, I was assuming we were going to be watching a love story. So I was a little disappointed in that regard. But I do think that these are good films, and like even though like the science stuff, I feel like they have sections where it can get like a little bit too convoluted. But when they go back to the basics of like bubble works like this and then it can split apart, and so like it can also change the viscosity, it'll go back down, and time travel, that's how it works. I'm like, I
And
get
have a
that part.
Guinness in a cup.
Yeah. Have a Guinness in the glass. Like that part I understand. I feel like that was explained fairly well. I don't know how, like, a better way to explain it, honestly. But yeah, it was really like the love story part that was lacking for me, and um a little bit of the science stuff that I feel like could have been, not like the general premise, but just like between the stories could have been cleared up a little bit better. So yeah, I will stick with the 6.5. I will stick with the 6.5.
And sorry for that. I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
Okay. Okay.
Mainly because if it wasn't because of its bad marketing, I maybe would have been more prepared mentally for what I was about to see.
Same.
But I truly enjoyed the science shimaga of it all.
Mm-hmm.
I had a good time with it as
Yeah.
a scientific man. So that was cool. So, guys and gals, non binary pals, we have talked about these two films that came out on Crunchyroll. Yes, they're on Crunchyroll, damn it. Go watch
Yeah.
them if you want to. But yes, two films. To Me, The One Who Loved You, To Every You I've Loved Before. Watch them at your own peril, at your own risk, in the order that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have seen them, let us know what order you saw them and what you think about them. Is this top tier science fiction? Is it okay science fiction? Is the science fiction that you just don't like at all? Or did you like the films? Let us know. If you want us to keep covering random movies like this and we'll figure out and we'll do it as well. But I think that's it, guys. We've talked about these films. They were great. Go watch them. You know our thoughts. 3, it's a middle of the road film. It's a good time.
It is.
It is an easy watch though. Like it's not like a torture watch you trying to gouge your eyes out. It's not Dead Leaves.
What did you say?
I said it's not Dead Leaves.
Dead Leaf is entertaining at least.
It's a lot of things. I don't know if it's entertaining.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say it's an easy watch because if and I'm not saying that it's in a
if
bad
you like
way.
Science fiction.
I was gonna say that if you need to have focus in this movie because
Yes, I
if
agree
you
with that.
lose
Yes,
track,
agreed.
then you just wait, what happened?
Yes.
Rewind for a bit.
Yes.
In that regard, I don't think it's an easy watch. It's an easy watch like hard things swallow what's the about the Schindler's List? No, but it's just
Oh, no,
you
no,
need
no.
to no.
I
It's
wouldn't
just you
even
need
try to say that.
No, but you get what I mean.
I do. I
Yeah.
do, sir.
I definitely, for those reasons, Isaac, because I'm like, I don't know if I personally would categorize it as an easy watch because I definitely felt my mind starting to wander, but also starting to explode by thinking about like the imaginalities and all of that.
Yeah.
This is one anime film that I'm like, maybe it would be better in dub if there's a dub that is in the works or
You know what?
could
I'm glad that
exist.
you mentioned that. Is this just me, or to me? What is it? To me, the one I love. What is it?
Yeah, to me, the one who loved you.
To me, the one who loved you. In the first like 30 minutes, when they're kids or whatever, and when they're teenagers, the voice acting's kind of off, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like the voice actors have like no emotion, and it's like
Oh.
it's like very monotone. Like it's not till you get to grown up Kiyomi that you get like someone that brings it. You know what I mean?
I mean, maybe they have the 2 different voice directors, and the other one was
Very
That's
possible.
less experience.
I do remember something feeling off, but I don't remember if it was like them being monotone or if it was something else. But I do remember something feeling off.
Everything is off in this movie. Go watch it. Or maybe don't, and you'll create your own imaginality that doesn't watch it.
So one of you will eventually. It's only a matter of imaginality.
I have a feeling that there's an imaginality of Isaac that goes, "Thank you for the one that watched it, because now I don't have to."
Yeah.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes another amazing episode of the Amateur Otaku podcast. You guys are awesome. If you love what we do here, our conversations on anime, films, topics, film, series, yada yada. Make sure you click on that like bell, on that like button, subscribe,
Ring the like bell.
and click on that bell icon so you don't miss out anything and get all the shorts. Jamie's still doing her shorts on Dr. Stone.
Yes,
I'm doing
that's a
that
lot
short
of fun.
series on One Piece. So stay tuned for more shorts. And got great stuff coming, guys. Have it awesome. We'll see you next time. Peace.
So yeah.
Peace.
If